Sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dharma practitioners, you may heard the word always people use called illusion. So when it comes to our life, we always try to get out of this illusion. And people like the word reality. So when it comes to the very meaning of illusion and how we can figure out what is this illusion. So the very nature of the illusion is this. It looks like something, but react in different ways. It looks like something, and it develop your expectations, hopes, but when the reactions come, the result come, it's going to become completely different. So then just imagine with your perception, with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, whatever the perception that you experience with this outside world, in that very moment the contact happens, there are hopes arise in you, and then out of that hopes, you start to wait for, you will start to plan for life ahead. But by the time you experience, you understand what you thought not going to happen. It is not happening there. So when we start with our own thoughts, our own body, our own family, our own society, our own country, our own world, the same thing happened. So the what it look like is not the exactly going to happen when the result comes. Very simple example. That your children, when the child born to the family, the parents become so happy, and you start to show it to all your friends. You become so happy showing the child to your friends. Oh, this is my child, this is my child. And child go to school, and when the very first day the children go to school, parents become so happy and telling, oh, my child went to school and did that, and if they get good result later, then you become so happy to introduce it to your friends. But how about when the children become young? What happening? When they get with the friends, the very first thing they tells to parents, Mommy, Daddy, stay away from us. Don't come to in front of my friends. See, when they are children, you show to all your friends. But when they have friends, they start to get out you from them. So that's the very nature. This is everything the same in life. So then you have to remember not to depend on your hopes, or not to depend on someone else, or not to depend on any kind of fixed situation. So then why we caught up in illusion with the perception? Remember this. You get into illusion with the perception because of the imagination. So when the perception comes to you, when you start to imagine out of that perception, you already disconnect from the reality. So then you go with the imagination. That imagination itself becomes the illusion. So there's nothing wrong with that in the world, but that is the very nature of our mind. That is what we have to understand. That is where we all are, even with the meditation sometimes. Because we trying to understand life with the, we try to understand reality with the words and the image. That's why we always into imagination. We attach to image. Deeply you have a self-image. And all you like, dislike, you carry self-image. You don't want to drop it. That. Is there any moment that you come to a point, even one moment, give you a rest to your mind without having any thoughts or without having any image? Even while you practice meditation sometimes. So this imagination, this illusion, and once it become itself your life, that's become, all for six directions, everywhere. Once you start to be with it, it's kind of like it become very normal to you. But the reality is more far away from that. Because you cannot understand the reality by imagination. It's like this. Look at when you look into your body, can you recognize the abdominal area? Can you feel your eye? Can you feel your ear? Can you feel your nose? Unless if there is a pain in a very surface level, you don't recognize that. If you are healthy, then you just feel just the life. You don't feel that this is my leg, this is my arm, this is my abdominal area, this is my eye, this is my ear. You don't feel like that way. So when it comes to deeper recognition, also the same. When it comes to that, the reality, connected to that reality, you don't need any words or image. The same like you are having a healthy body. When there is no pain, you don't feel, it's kind of like you don't feel this is my body. This is so, but when the suddenly pain is there, disturb is there, then you recognize. So this imagination, it is so deep. Through the samsaric journey, we nourish this imagination, developing thoughts and the image. That's what it called the volitions, formations, sanskara. And but when it comes to the in day-to-day moment of experience, that what if you go with the help out of the sanskara, then itself, day by day, day by day, day by day, you're missing the moment of experience. So the practicing meditation is a way that you trying to develop your mind, cultivate your mind to behave itself without the names or the image. Because that is where mind become completely 100% mind. So once the mind start to go with the names and the image, we already you carry it, you hold it from the past. Itself, it's not going to be the mind. It's become a part of the mind. It's kind of like a shadow. So that what we live mostly with the shadow of the mind, not the real mind. Because the real mind that go with always the the moment of experience. So when it comes to in day-to-day life, that the whatever the action you take with your bodily, verbally, mentally activities, if you are able to come to use the mind, what will happen? You start to go with the less effort and gain the maximum result. You go with the less effort and get the maximum result. And when it comes to meditation, that becomes the most highest level of action. Why? In the moment of awareness has power to illuminate that entire samsaric journey. Through the samsaric journey, whatever the image you accumulated, the words you accumulated, that everything can release. So then in day-to-day life, if you look for the development of your actions, always remember, look into your awareness and develop your attention related to the mind, and develop your effort related to see the mind. Because we use this all the effort in day-to-day life with things. But mostly we use the effort to cultivate the image or cultivate the thoughts, not the development of our very natural mind. So in that effort, one time Buddha mentioned there are 8 kinds of hindrance always come to us and put the barrier related to your spiritual practice. So in day-to-day life, if you little by little have the effort to come out of these barriers and deeply you nourish your spiritual development at the same time, it will help you to get into the highest level of your awareness. So these barriers, it's kind of like a way that take us to laziness. So the laziness take us to negligence, ignore, and it develop the ignorance. And when once you start to neglect things, and with what will happen, then all the worry, fear, anxiety, depression, this mistake, this everything can happen. So then in day-to-day life, look yourself. When it comes to the Buddha's teaching, you have to remember you are the only one can help for you. There is no one else can help for you. Don't look for that help. No one can help for you. Only you can help yourself. So then it is your major priority to get out of the laziness. It is your self-effort. When it comes to yourself to take care, the most important part, don't be lazy. Why? Because you are the only one can help for you, and time is very limited. And if you spend becoming lazy, then what will happen? You miss the opportunity. So then how you can deal with this laziness? And there are 8 kinds of laziness, that the methods that we use to develop the laziness. So then from today, always remember in day-to-day life, in your conventional life, start to get out of from this kind of laziness and start to practice your spiritual development. So when it comes to that spiritual development, meditation, and listening to something and learning yourself something and helping to somebody. So this kind, it's just not only the meditation. There are different path and the roots, branches. So you can develop any part of it. So when it comes to this 8-point hindrance, that develop the laziness, this is the first one. That sometimes you start to practice whatever the good things, even in the basically in conventional life also. So the very first thing, sometimes this is what you think. When there is something to do, maybe in the next hour, next day, or next week, thinking that what you have to do, you start to take a rest. Listen this very carefully and see and how our human mind behave. This is the very conventional way of how the world go. So as example, if you have to do some heavy work tomorrow, and then you start to take a rest today, and maybe you have to go somewhere tomorrow, and thinking that what you have to do, and you trying to take a rest today before you do that work. So before you do the work, you're trying to take a rest. That's a very conventional. So then how it go with the spiritual practice? Maybe you practice meditation every day in a certain time period. So as example, just imagine 6 o'clock in the evening, and maybe 8 o'clock you have to go for a birthday party with your child or with somebody, maybe for your brother, sister, neighbor, somewhere. So then what you does, thinking about that you have to go to the party, you don't practice meditation. So that is one way. And then in conventional level, that whatever that your ordinary life, even just imagine you cooking, you cleaning, you washing, you do your laundry. So you have to do your laundry or you have to do your cooking, but there is something you have to do within another few hours. So thinking about that, you don't do this. That is one thing how we grow the laziness. And the second one, after you do some work, really it is hard, difficult, it took so much energy to do that work. After you did that work, thinking about that work, then you're going to take a rest. Oh, yesterday I did this. Then because of that, I don't want to do this today. Oh, tomorrow that yesterday I had this kind of work. So because of that, I cannot do this today. So like that, thinking about whatever you have done, then you try to take a rest. So the very first one, before you do some work, you take a rest. And the second one, after you do some work, then you try to rest and catch that whatever the energy that you spent. So then how it go with the meditation? Maybe you went to do some work, and then your meditation time came, and then thinking about that whatever you have done, then you're not going to practice. Another thing is, the third one, that thinking about tomorrow you have to go somewhere, and then today you're not going to do that whatever your things. Maybe you have to travel tomorrow. Maybe you have to go for a picnic. You go for a vacation. So thinking about that whatever the journey you have to go, and then you're not going to practice. And then the fourth one is, after a long the journey, maybe you went to go from country to country, or maybe you went for a vacation, or maybe you went for a picnic. Then after the journey, then you're not going to practice. So now 4 things. Before you do some work, physical work, and then after you do work, you're not going to practice. 2 things. And then before you go for a journey, and then after you finish the journey, and then you stop your practice. So 4 times. And the 5th one, and sometimes you miss a lunch or your dinner, your meal. Maybe quiet time period you miss it, and then you feel real hungry. And then you have to do something. So the thinking about that hunger, and you're not going to do whatever you have to do. Oh, I am hungry. Now I cannot do this. So this is another way how the laziness comes. See, there are roots. That's why you have to know these roots. And sometimes we push children and we try to, even try to become ourselves more motivate and to do things and to be profitable to ourselves. But sometimes deeply inside, physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, we become so lazy in a certain day. And sometimes we say ourselves, I feel so lazy. And we don't know the reason sometimes. See, those are the ways the laziness start to grow inside. So the 5th one, when you have the hunger, feel hungry, thinking about that hunger, you stop your practice. So it doesn't matter you're hungry or not, then when the time comes, if you practice, just sit for that. If there's something you have to do, forget about the hunger. Drink some water and move forward, and just don't give up because of the hunger. That's the 5th one. The 6th one, after you eat and thinking because you are full, and sometimes you give up things and you stop doing things, you postpone things, you pass things, you neglect things, or thinking, oh, I just ate, now I cannot do this. So then, especially that whatever that you have to do, if it is necessary work, so if it is your spiritual practice yourself, remember, don't give up because of you full, you feel so full. It doesn't matter. And sit and start to practice that. And the 7th one, sometimes we get sick. Sometimes the cold, the fever, it is very normal. And when there is some little discomfort come, little disease happen, sickness is there. Thinking about, oh, I am sick, I know I cannot do this. You give up things. You stop all your activities. And thinking about that sickness or the disease. And then other thing is, after you got sick, now you got cured. But you take some times to rest yourself thinking, oh, I had a sickness, I had a disease, now I got cured, I need some rest, recovery time. And after this, I will practice meditation. I will do this, my work. So once you get sickness or the disease, and then after you got cured out of that disease, so both ways you give up. So those are the 8 methods that the Buddha mentioned. It's called kusita vastu. 8 kind of kusita vastu. Kusita means laziness. Vastu is kind of like a treasury, roots. formations, volitions. So those are the 8 roots. The laziness start to come to you. So then in day-to-day life, remember that whatever you have to do in the future, when the time comes, maybe you will do it, and maybe it's not going to happen the way that what you think. So then because of what you have to do, don't give up your practice in the moment. And whatever you have done, the work, maybe it is really hard work. But when it comes to your practice, remember why you have to understand this, because you are the only one can help you to get out of this. So maybe you was so busy doing some work for others, maybe children, maybe for husband, for your wife, maybe for your family, friends. You are so busy. But remember, when it comes to you thinking about, oh, I have done that, I am so busy, I was so tired, and don't give up your practice. Don't allow your laziness to grow, because whatever you have done, it's already gone. So then, before you do some work and after you do some work, forget about that. When the time comes, keep practice. And that's the second one, before you go somewhere, it doesn't matter you have to fly tomorrow, but today, if you have to do something, do it, especially when it comes to your practice, meditation. So whatever is spiritual practice, do it. Don't think, oh, I have to travel tomorrow, today I'm not going to do. No. And even after, whatever the journey you have done, and then forget about that. And when the time comes, do your practice. And the fifth one, whatever the hunger, don't give up because of the hunger. Those are very common, the worldly things in the world. Not only you, this entire world, these all living beings feel hungry. Don't take it very personal. Oh, seen, unseen, all living beings feel hungry. So then, don't give up your spiritual practice because of the hunger. And then once you full, after you eat, you feel comfortable, and then don't give up your practice. So, and the disease and the sickness or whatever happened, don't give up your practice. And after you got cured, because thinking about that disease or the sickness, don't try to find a recovery time yourself from your spiritual, that because the spiritual practice is the best investment for your life, and getting out of the laziness is the best profitable skill that you can develop in you. So then from today, look into yourself and try to take care of yourself. So when it comes to the life depends from the most important elements that we have, the water. That, as you know, the 70% this body water. The whole world, this entire world, you know, the human life depending from water. Even in this entire universe, you know, all the scientists looking for water, because if there is water, there is life. But just imagine, if the entire world is with the water, without land, what will happen? What's the point that you know, oh, the water is so important, you know, oh, so water is so valuable, but if there is no land, can you survive? No, it's like that. When it comes to that, whatever the experience that we go through. It's like the water. It's very necessary. You need that. Your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body go with this experience. It is very necessary. But if you don't recognize that, with the perception in that very moment, that when it happens, if you cannot recognize, you are kind of like the water without a land. So don't be like that. So the land is kind of like your awareness, your wisdom, your recognition. So even though we are in this ocean of experiencing the worldly experience, don't lose your awareness. Don't lose your recognition. Don't lose your understanding. So why we lose that? Because of the illusion. So what is the illusion means? Our imagination. So why we go to the imagination? Because of our laziness. So then why we go to the laziness? Because that the steps that I mentioned, that is why we develop cultivate, promote our laziness deeper inside us. So don't blame to anybody. No, don't go with anyone else. You know, that you are the one who need to develop your skills yourself. And when it comes to that, you will see, once you start to work with yourself and become very clear within yourself, you start to come to a point to experience things without words and without image. So when that day comes for you, that is the day you're going to experience your transformation, your liberation, the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. So with that, I bless upon everyone. With this good practice, may all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, may no difficulties come to you, may no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. During this time period, may everyone stay healthy and safe. And finally, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityo vajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatantarayo. Sukhi dega yuko bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhan bhavena sabba dhamman bhavena. Sabba sanganubhavena sada sukti bhavantu te. Yattavata chammi sampadam punya sampada. Sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta anumodantu. Sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta anumodantu. Sabba sampatti siddhya idammi punya kammam. Asavakkaya vangotu sabba dukkha pamunchatu. Bless you.